Today we'll be talking about the grievance redressal mechanism, especially with reference to IRDA. So everyone has a general feeling that IRDA does not do much or cannot do much. So today I will try to, by my own experience, and also by looking at whatever information that is there, talk about what role IRDA plays in grievance redressal. Parallelly talking about two things. IRDA's own mechanisms for capturing the insurance grievances, etc. So first, let us look at the regulatory part of it. Yesterday, I just introduced you to it. Section 17, I mean Regulation 17 of the Protection of Policyholders Interest Regulation talks about grievance redressal procedure. It says every insurer to have proper procedures and effective mechanism to resolve complaints and grievances, but they have referred to complaints and grievances, but the system, the definitions of the PPHI talk about complaint or grievance. So to resolve complaint and grievances of policyholder and claimants. And here you should also have grievances of prospects. That doesn't come out. Then with efficiency and speed. So that is the essence, and we have seen that the objective of the policyholder protection regulation is also basically to enable that the governance structure is tuned towards the customer and also specifically towards efficient and speedy settlement of grievances. So the moment grievances are handled, customers are happy. And if the customers are happy, then they will be comfortable having insurance products, because generally it is a product which is sold rather than bought. So something you are shoving down someone's throat. If they have a problem, if you are able to resolve that problem, then at least he will have the satisfaction that he is, though he is being conned into taking an insurance policy, at least the benefits that he is supposed to be getting out of it, he is able to get. So from that point of view, grievance redressal becomes very important in the manner in which insurance is thrust on people. So the regulations talk about the insurer to have proper procedures and effective mechanism to resolve complaints and grievances of policyholders and claimants with efficiency and speed. And what is the procedure that is supposed to be followed relating to grievances? Earlier it was there in a set of guidelines called grievance redressal guidelines. Now what they have done is the crux of that has been brought in and put in the form of an annexure to the regulations. So let us see what are the elements that are there. First, looking at what a complaint or grievance is. So basically yesterday also I touched about it. It's basically a written expression of dissatisfaction by a complainant, and against whom he could have a dissatisfaction. He could have dissatisfaction against the insurer, distribution channel, intermediary, insurance intermediary, or other regulated entities. And what is this dissatisfaction about? About something that they have done or something that they have not done. And what is this doing or not doing in relation to? About the standard of service that they are supposed to be providing, or if they deliberately have a deficiency of service. In those cases, a complaint or grievance is registered against the insurer, distribution channel, intermediary, insurance intermediary, or other regulated entity. So what is the grievance redressal procedure? The first step that a complainant has to do is to approach the grievance redressal officer of the regulated entity. And how can he go about? He can go about by using any of the channels that are made available by the insurer. And in case the grievance redressal system does not work, he can also use the grievance redressal system of IRDA. But he can use this system only in case of no response from the regulated entity, or in case he has made a complaint and the insurer has given a response and that resolution is not satisfactory to him. In these cases, he can use the channel of Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. Then what are mandated to be done by every insurer? One, he has to have an effective grievance redressal procedure. What is this procedure and this system is supposed to be? We have seen yesterday in terms of board approved policy. The board approved policy is supposed to give the details about what is the grievance redressal procedure, what are the grievance redressal authorities, what are the channels through which you can approach. Then also talk about what are the turnaround times within which services are going to be provided by the insurer, and wherever the turnaround time is not met or it is delayed, that also becomes a cause for grievance, because it was something that the insurer has promised that he will do, but that promise has not been kept. So it's an action, it's a case of inaction, and that inaction forms a ground for complaint. Then this grievance redressal system should be to address complaints with speed and efficiency, and the system should also communicate the action taken by the insurer on the complaint to the complainant. So here, as I told you, the emphasis is on insurer only because he is the prime person who is responsible for dealing with the grievance and resolving the complaint of the complainant. But under the policyholder protection guidelines, you have the intermediaries, insurance intermediaries, and other entities also coming under the purview of those regulations. But the onus to resolve and communicate is primarily with the insurer. That is how the regulations have been put. In addition to giving information about the grievance redressal system and the grievance redressal personnel, information is also supposed to be furnished by every insurer about the insurance ombudsman. Then the next aspect of it is what should be the grievance redressal management structure. That is what is provided for here in the next portion. What it says is that every insurer to have a grievance redressal officer of a senior level at corporate office level. So basically, this is the person who is in some places is referred to as chief grievance redressal officer, or the officer who is responsible for grievances at the central office level, and he will be the contact person with whom IRDA will be in touch. So Mr. Wahab was one such person in Oriental Insurance when we were there in IRDA, and Mr. Mr. Ganesh, who is now the executive director, was the similarly placed executive director in LIC when I was there in IRDA. So we had occasions to interact with each other. Then every other office to have a designated grievance officer who is the head of the office. So basically, the branch in charge will be designated as the grievance officer. Then it is important to give the information of the grievance redressal officer as well as grievance officer, and it has to be published in the website. Then the grievance officer, hierarchy of other grievance officers, and the grievance redressal officer at corporate office should be displayed on the notice boards of offices. The general system that is there is you have a primary level of grievance redressal, then you have first level of escalation, and beyond that, if the resolution is not possible, then it goes to the corporate level. I will show you the example of what LIC has. LIC has a 4-tier system which starts from the branch and ends with the executive director at the central office level. So you could have levels depending upon the size of the company, but it is absolutely essential that you should have one at the branch level who is the in charge and one at the central office level who is accountable and who is the contact point for Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority insofar as grievance redressal of that particular insurer is concerned. Then every office is supposed to display in a prominent place the name, address and contact details of the insurance ombudsman having jurisdiction. So as far as the insurance ombudsman is concerned, we'll have subsequent sessions, but the general jurisdiction of the insurance ombudsman is the branch where the policy is issued. So we have electronic mechanisms that are available, but even now there will be a connected branch from where your policy would be issued. And the ombudsman having jurisdiction over that place where the branch is in relation to from which you have got the policy, that will be the jurisdiction of the insurance ombudsman. So ideally, every branch should have the details of the insurance ombudsman having jurisdiction over that branch. Then the grievance redressal system and procedure. Here certain the systems that are required and the procedure that needs to be followed is something which is captured in this part of the annexure relating to grievance redressal procedure. First thing, it has to be an IT enabled system and an IT facilitated procedure. And this IT system and procedure has to be for receiving, registering, and disposing of grievances. And the grievance redressal system.
The display has gone.
Oh,
The display has gone.
1 minute. Microsoft Whiteboard. Somebody opened the Microsoft Whiteboard, or I only moved on to that, I suppose. Okay. Are you able to now see my screen?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So the grievance redressal system has to be publicized, and that is why we said that the policy and the details of these persons and the channels through which grievances can be registered have to be put on the website of the insurer concerned. In addition to it, when you say publicize, in the policy documents also you need to incorporate details about the grievance redressal procedure. Yesterday we have seen what are the matters to be stated in a general insurance policy, life insurance policy, and a health insurance policy. And two aspects that are very common in all these three is indications about the grievance redressal mechanism that is there, the grievance officer to whom complaint has to be raised, and the insurance ombudsman to whom the complaint can be raised in case of a grievance. So this is a very important. Yes, sir.
Again, the display has gone again.
Some nefarious elements are operating on this, I suppose. Or maybe I am only being stupid. I don't know. 1 minute. Again, it's the whiteboard which was visible, I suppose.
Yeah, yes, sir. Something went wrong like that. It is whiteboard help. Go to whiteboard help. It is coming.
Venkatachalam sir seems to be operating or sharing this whiteboard. And I'll just check up how to get over this. Don't show chat bubbles, background effects, together mode, meeting options.
I don't know where I touched the screen.
Correct. Yes, yes. So I know that there is this kind of a thing because I have done this in Zoom and I have seen people do this. So there I had a knowledge about how to put that off, but here I don't know.
Is it gone, sir?
Yes, yes.
Has
now
it gone?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can just send it to me on WhatsApp, the presentation.
I have already put that on WhatsApp, sir.
Is it there? Okay.
Yes, yes. I have put yesterday's presentation and today's presentation. So both of them.
It is a combined one, no, sir. It is a combined slide.
No, sir. They're two separate presentations.
Okay, okay.
So 1 minute. Let me just. Oh, I put this. Yes. One is on grievance redressal mechanism, the first one. Yeah. Then I put one on protection of policyholders' interest regulations because this was yesterday's class. Okay, so you can.
Should I open it? Should I display it?
No, no, sir. It was only because someone else touched the whiteboard and shared it. Now that that has been done away with, I think now everyone is able to see this now.
Mallikarjun, sir.
Yes, sir.
You have told that all insurers to be a part of the IGMS system of IRDA. But,
yes, sir.
To our surprise, when we go to the grievance mechanism, grievance system of some of the insurer, especially they are telling you have to send a mail, not to the direct online system.
That is also a channel that is available for registering grievance, but otherwise it's not necessary that you should. I don't know whether there are any companies which are only doing it through mail, but the requirement is that you are supposed to provide an IT system, procedure, and record. And the general channels that are there for people to record their grievances are a voice call, then electronic registration of grievances, then email, then conventional letter. All these are the channels that are provided for, sir.
Suppose if it is an online system of an insurer, then it is automatically integrated with IRDA system, no, sir?
Exactly. There's a coupling mechanism which happens.
If I am sending only an email to the particular insurer, it will not go to the notice of IRDA, you know.
It will not, unless the email is taken and it is entered into IGMS. The requirement is that it has to be entered into the insurer's complaint management system. Once it is done into the complaint management system, automatically it gets replicated.
Okay, sir. But we also find that some insurers are doing this. I don't know why they are not providing the online. Even in the participants list also, some of us has referred to me that there is some companies are not providing online.
Sir, actually, sir, I agree with Sudhakar. Yesterday, I tried in ICICI Lombard. It never allowed me to go in for the grievance thing. It says you send us only the mail or contact us over the phone toll-free number. There is no.
Okay, but I will share with you. I will share with you a slide that is there relating to the system of grievance redressal. I have just taken it from ICICI Lombard only.
Exactly. You just see that, sir, down below they say no, there is a grievance complaint, but it is not opening. Okay. I tried also yesterday.
Okay. Visit any of our branches, register your complaint or service request.
Sir. Yes.
This register thing is not working.
Yes, sir. It's not working. It is not working, sir.
Okay. So maybe you should bring it to our people. Otherwise, what is the fun in having this system?
Exactly, sir. Exactly.
Even I tried national insurance also. There is no online system.
Is it?
Yes.
Then
sir.
Maybe we bring it to the notice of IRDA, sir.
Yes.
Parallelly,
I tried United India National Insurance.
This is a regulatory requirement. This is a regulatory requirement. They all have to have this online grievance thing, and if they are not having it or it's not working, that means it is intentionally being done that way, so that IRDA will not be knowing how many grievances have been registered.
Correct, sir. Yes, sir.
That is not what is intended.
That is the basic thing or nothing else. So that is a serious thing, man.
Register your complaint. I'll take care.
At least by doing this exercise, your people are able to. But do check it. I mean, more than once to be very sure that they are not having a online.
Yes. Definitely, sir. Before taking up with IRDA, they have to be doubly confirmed.
No, we will not take it with IRDA. We can directly write as an institution. We can directly write to the company also.
Yes, sir.
Online request, service request, health checkup request, policy renewal. Okay, so it doesn't seem to be here, sir.
Yes, sir. That's the thing I tried yesterday.
Click here to email only, and that email generally works basically because it is escalation that you're doing. So generally what happens is the first level of escalation and the second levels of escalations are basically either system enabled or through electronic mail that you do. But the primary entry of a grievance generally has to happen through the system. And then when you are not in a position to enter, where is the fun in tracking your complaint or service request? Okay, complaint service request policy number. I hope you are able to see my screen now.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So ICICI Lombard, there is some non-compliance which we have to bring it to the notice. Because I don't know, IECA say Lombard take care app, manage your policies on the go, then get quick help online. It's only the requests that are there, but not the grievances.
Yeah, yes, sir.
What you can probably do is register a complaint on IRDA and indicate that people don't have a system at all.
Yeah. In IRDA, they say that first approach the insurer. I tried also.
Okay.
First approach the insurer and then come back.
Okay. Okay. Catch 22. Okay, we'll see. I will tell there is one Vishu Arora in ICICI Lombard. I will tell him that your system is not capturing or allowing capture of grievances online. So kya hua, I'll find out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So I was thinking that is one of the better systems. Otherwise, I would have gone for Bajaj General, thinking that's probably the second best or the first best insurer on the general side from the grievances is what I understand. So, or what I have heard a lot of people say. So let us see. So the publicity of that, then all insurers should be part of the integrated grievance management system of IRDA, and this is basically intended to register and track the complaints online by the complainant. So you will have a particular syntax of the complaint that will be there, and using that syntax you will be in a position to find out. Then you can use the call center of IRDA also to find out what is the status of the complaint in case you have the complaint number. And the reason why these two are replicated is basically to provide a mechanism for mirroring of the grievance database of the insurer with IGMS. And what does this do? It will facilitate analysis of complaints. It will ensure monitoring of the complaints by IRDA in terms of how many days it has been active and not resolved, and thereby enabling reduction of pain for customers and consequently an improvement in the process or system because of a constant review. How constantly that is reviewed at IRDA is a matter dependent upon the person. So someone says, what is how many man days does it take? If it is a question, it depends upon the man who is spending his day. So similarly, in this particular case also, how frequently IRDA monitors this, it depends upon the number of the inquisitiveness of the person there and the seriousness with which they would want to monitor. And it doesn't take much time or an effort in terms of doing this, but it has to be done because the system is capable of throwing up some reports. Though experientially, I say that the system has not been very beautifully designed. There has been a quotation called from vendors for improving this system. And I was myself involved in trying to improve the system, but somehow it didn't work. So we were only able to make some cursory changes. So now I think somebody has got an order for changing this, and this change could probably be a very drastic change in terms of making it more user friendly and in terms of making it more competent of generating the kinds of reports that say IRDA would like to have from the grievances. So that's what this system is meant to be for. But one thing is, it's a very good system in terms of the conceptualization of it, but there have been changes that have happened. Then there were subcategories of complaints and other things. So those had to be retuned. And such large scale exercise to be done on the database, it's something which is very difficult. And the fact that it is integrated with the insurer's database also, there has to be a corresponding sync between the two. And that is also an issue which will hinder frequent changes of the system. But time is ripe that system is updated to bring out all the elements, especially the reports. As long as I was there was one gentleman in the department who was a computer professional who could generate the kind of reports that we wanted. But the system had to generate those reports, which it does not have the capability till now, I suppose. Okay, so that's the reason why a Wipro technician or a CMC technician constantly sits there and generates those kind of reports. It's not something that is driven and generated automatically. So maybe over a period of time that will improve. So this is as far as the system requirement is concerned. Then the next part is relating to closure of complaint and grievance. So first, there is a necessity for an acknowledgement of a complaint and allotment of a complaint number. Then a examination of the complaint, and then a response in relation to the complaint. And once the response is given, then comes the the issue whether the complaint is satisfactorily resolved in favor of the customer, or if it is not satisfactorily resolved, what are the options that are available. Those areas come into being. So, but in what instances can a closure of complaint happen? First, if the insurer accedes to the request of the complainant fully, then it will be closed with full satisfaction. Then second thing is the complainant himself indicates that the response of insurer is satisfactory and he gives it in writing. Then it will be treated as closed. The third case is because of non-responsiveness of the complainant, that you have given, the insurer has given a detailed response and indicated that this is how the resolution is happening. But within 8 weeks of the insurer's written response, if the complainant does not respond, then automatically you can say that he is not pursuing it diligently, because of which the complaint can be closed. So these are the 3 mechanisms of closure. And if you see the reports also, the reports of the insurer will indicate and the IRDAI will indicate whether it has been closed satisfactorily or without satisfaction. So that kind of distinction is brought about. So you can see how many complaints have been resolved to the satisfaction of the complainant and not to the satisfaction. So all those unresolved complaints will be those which need to be taken up either with the insurance ombudsman or through alternate forums. So where to give this information of what to do in case your complaint is not resolved, it is mandated according to the guidelines that the insurer, in case the complaint is not resolved in favor of the complainant or is partially resolved, inform the complainant about the option to take up the matter with insurance ombudsman or and furnish the details to the insurance ombudsman. Sometimes it so happens that the matter is not something which can go to the insurance ombudsman, but we find that the insurer in a routine manner will say that you can go to the insurance ombudsman. Then unfortunately that fellow will go and say that that is not a personal line of insurance, so you can't go there, so he'll be checked out. But the intention is basically for the insurer to understand the insurance ombudsman rules also and say that this cannot be resolved through insurance ombudsman. Then you go and take it up with alternate forums. And in this alternate forums, your arbitration also comes, where your the grievance is there is an arbitration clause and the resolution is not completely to the satisfaction. So there I have not seen any instance where the insurer is going and saying that you can take up the matter with for arbitration. So that doesn't happen. I hope in future that happens. So I have just brought 2 examples of the grievance redressal structures that are there. And first, unfortunately, I got ICICI Lombard, which indicates that there is a primary level of grievance registration. You have a toll-free number, etc. Then you have a mail access. Then you have to have an online access also. Then a mechanism to track the complaint and get to know about the status. But if the resolution is not satisfactory, the next stage that can be taken up is the stage of escalation. And here the escalation is to the Deputy Vice President Customer Support. And here also, if the resolution is not satisfactory, then it has to go to the head customer support, who is basically the grievance redressal officer of the company, who is at the corporate office level. So generally, though the regulation earlier stipulated a time period of 15 days, but now also most of the insurers have a time period of 15 days for resolution. So the escalation periods are incorporated in such a manner that the last level response goes before 15 days. So this is how it has to be. And in case of banks also, generally what they do is the first level and second level escalations, they try to do it within 30 days, because the ombudsman, the matter can be taken up 30 days after the giving of response or the rejection of response. So they will tune the escalation periods in such a manner that within 30 days, the fellow gets to know complete fate of the grievance and its resolution by the insurer, and in that particular case, bank. This is as far as Lombard is concerned. Then the other life insurance corporation is the one which I took up for the purpose of life insurance. So we have the touch points of taking up grievances is one, grievance redressal officer. Then they have a mechanism of meeting the officer personally on any Monday between 2:30 to 4:30, or there is a phone channel through which he can be accessed. Then the details are provided for. Then they can go to the nearest customer zone at any time between 8 AM to 8 PM on Monday to Friday, and the customer zone's details are given. Then there is an SMS facility where you can just send, at one point of time there was, and I don't know whether it is available now also, but in SBI there was something which indicated that you only had to give from your registered mobile not happy, and then there will be a call from the executive in the customer service zone of SBI who will call you. So here also what you have to do is you have to say LIC help and give your policy number, and then you will receive a call from the customer zone executive to take up your complaint and resolve it. So this is a beautiful mechanism which can be adopted. Then register your grievance online. I don't know who has done it with LIC. Anybody has registered their complaint with LIC? Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Nobody. Okay. So I just wanted to know whether someone
have any complaint with LIC.
Very good. That's the reason why it's the #1 insurer, no? Good. So LIC, these are the channels that are available. Then in addition to it, they have an online integrated complaint management system for. So this is the system into which the grievances will get logged into, and this is the system where which gets integrated with IRDAI, and the access of information through IGMS can be brought. So there are different levels of grievance redressal officers in LIC. As I told you, general level is generally you have 3 levels, a branch level, then a divisional level, and the corporate office level. Here, in addition to it, you have a zonal level also, where there are 8 zonal officers. So the regional managers of these zonal officers are another tier of grievance redressal officers. Then another important thing that is there is something called as the claims dispute redressal committees. And I think similar systems do exist in non-life and in other life insurance companies also, where at the corporate and at the zonal levels, there is a committee which is formed where there is a repudiation of claim that is supposed to be done. The repudiation is done, and then the customer is informed that we have a claim dispute resolution committee, redressal committee, so you can make an appeal before them. And this committee consists of senior officers at the zonal officer and the central office level, and they have an external person. For building credibility, they have a retired judge of a district or high court judge as a member. So they will examine the appeal made by the claimant, and then they will, if they reject, then it will be indicated to him that at the zonal level, I have rejected your complaint. If you want, you can go to the central office level also. And if you are not interested, then you can go to the ombudsman. So there are 2 levels of appeal in relation to claim rejections, with a judge also sitting in to decide upon the appeal for a rejection of a claim which the branch people do. So it's a very good system to have. So do non-life insurers also have this kind of a committee, sir? I think there are a few working or retired non-life insurers, no? So do you have this kind of a committee where you have an external person, maybe a judge, who will be sitting in that claim dispute resolution?
This is available for third-party claims, sir.
Okay.
Sir, grievance New India also, New India Regional Office Chennai, we are having, sir. High Court judge is also one of the members.
Okay, but is it for third-party claims as Sudhakar?
Third-party claims.
Yes,
Grievance
it's only for
Redressal
third party,
Committee.
sir.
Sir, even Grievance Redressal Committee, RO level, one of the High Court judge is also member. Retired judge is also member. AGM Assistant General Manager, as well as the Regional Manager and High Court judge, one of the High Court retired judge, and the regional office. Grievance officer. 4 members are in the regional office committee, sir. We are having 4 committee members to resolve the grievances, sir, at RO level.
Okay, but these grievances are relating to claims only, or all grievances go up to them?
Only claims only, sir.
Okay, so but
not
that,
all grievances.
So that's a good system, in which case you will at least reduce the load for ombudsman or reduce the load for alternate dispute forums that are there. In fact,
at the RO level, we get a statement of IGMS at the RO level.
Okay.
And the committee members will discuss, the 4 committee members discuss, and the final decision will be taken by the High Court retired judge.
Okay.
That committee is, we prepared some footnotes, sir. Footnote, and the footnote is to be signed by all the members of the at regional office level and to be forwarded to our corporate office.
Okay, but then how do they get to know about the details in relation to those complaints?
We get the details from IGMS, sir. IGMS at RO level, we are operating IGMS at RO level, that every 15 days our quarterly statement, which we will be preparing the quarterly statement, and which are pending it, and we will call for judge record, that High Court retired judge, and we will be having a meeting at one day and resolve the disputes.
Very good. So this is a very good thing. In fact, I would like to inform here that in case of banks also, initially what we had is this levels of grievance redressal officer escalation. There you have a banking ombudsman office, and every branch you need to have a grievance redressal officer, and there has to be one grievance redressal officer who is called as the nodal officer, who is there in the zone, who is the contact person for the banking ombudsman. Then at the top level, you have a nodal officer who is the chief grievance officer, who will be contacting at the central office level, interacting with the Reserve Bank of India. What we have done now is to create an intermediary system called as an internal ombudsman. So this internal ombudsman is not someone who is from the bank, but any grievance that is not resolved by the normal grievance channel, including the chief grievance officer, they will have to be taken up to the insurance internal ombudsman. And if he rejects, then then only it has to pass on to the ombudsman. So I don't know how effectively that works, but technically speaking, there is a mechanism to at least filter those complaints which are run-of-the-mill kind of complaints which keep going to the ombudsman. So that system has been provided, but here the number of grievances that you have in banks is manifold, because the number of interactions that you have with the bank are innumerable. So, but in case of insurers, you have only few areas, at least maybe in a lifetime of an insurance policy, you could have 3 or 4 instances of interaction or grievance. So probably you don't need an internal ombudsman, but this committee which is being set up, especially in relation to claims in life and general, they can serve a very good purpose in terms of promoting a customer friendly approach. So that's something that I wanted to talk about. Then the next aspect is LIC also has policyholder councils at all the 113 divisional centers and 3 policyholders of the area. So basically this is a mechanism of interaction. In case of banks also, you have a customer service committees, and these committees have a few customers, pensioners, etc. So they will meet every month and have a discussion about the level of customer service at branch level. And this is an important activity to probably build some kind of rapport in the people around, but how effective they are, I am not aware of. Then zonal advisory boards are also there in the 8 centers. Then apart from that, LIC has adopted a citizens charter, and the link to it is provided for here. So let me just see if I can show you the charter. Anyhow, that link is not working. So basically, this is what the Citizens Charter is, and the timelines of policy servicing they are provided for in this, which is basically nothing but your turnaround times for transactions. So this is the system that is provided for in LIC according to its website. Then now, after having seen this, we will now go into the grievance redressal and where IRDA comes in. So the regulatory portion relating to this is something which has been formulated. The system, conceptualized by Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. But the primary onus on grievance redressal lies with the company, which has to receive, examine and redress the grievances through its grievance redressal mechanism. So you have grievance officer, escalation levels, and at the corporate levels. So what are the steps that are necessary to be taken is an acknowledgement, then examination of the complaint, redressal of the complaint or rejection with reasons, and communication of the same. And all this done with speed, efficiency and sensitivity. Then what are the options that the insurer fails to do? What the customer wants? First, he can take it up with IRDA or he can escalate the complaint to IRDA through the IGMS system that is available. The second option is that he can take it up with the insurance ombudsman having jurisdiction. The third thing, if there is an arbitration clause and if it fits the bill, he can trigger the matter for arbitration or conciliation. Then he can take up the matter with alternate grievance redressal forums like consumer forum. Then even a criminal court if it is another thing, or it could be any other civil court, etc. Then he can take it up before those courts. So now we will talk about what IRDA does. So IRDA steps in after the insurer does not resolve the grievance. So the mandate of statute, as per the statute for IRDA, is to protect the policyholder's interest and to regulate, promote and ensure orderly growth of the insurance market. And there are two commitments that are given and two missions that are indicated by IRDA in its mission statement. First is to protect the interests of and secure fair treatment of policyholders. The second is to ensure that there is a speedy settlement of genuine claims. Parallelly, prevention of insurance fraud and malpractices. And thirdly, to put in place an efficient grievance redressal machinery. So these are the missions of IRDA. And what is the role of IRDA? First is the regulatory role, that is putting into place the legal and regulatory framework for the insurers to handle their grievances. The first comes out in the form of issuance of regulations, where we have already dealt with the protection of policyholders' interest regulations. Then second, directing regulated entities to put in place effective grievance redressal mechanisms. Then the third is ensuring that the regulatory entities draw up and publish citizens' charter. So this is also one of the aspects that is which are there in the PPHI regulations. Then there is a requirement that all the insurance companies are supposed to make public disclosures of the grievances, indicating the classes of grievances, the resolution of grievances, the number of grievances, and the change that has taken place in the number of grievances on a quarterly basis. As far as life companies are concerned, the return or the statement is called L41. In case of non-life companies, it is NL41. So these are public disclosures, and all this form a part of the regulatory framework of IRDA. Then directing insurers to advise customers about alternate channels of grievance redressal. So to enable a logical end to the grievance, insofar as the customer is concerned, the IRDA directs insurers to either advise them to either escalate the complaint to IRDA or raise the dispute with insurance ombudsman, or take up arbitration of the dispute, or refer to other consumer forum courts, etc. Then wherever there is any non-compliance in terms of the regulations, then IRDA has the power to impose penal action for non-compliance. Then these are the regulatory powers. Then the developmental aspects that are there are, it is not necessary that the regulator should have a grievance redressal mechanism or should specify that I am going to host this system in my in my server, and all the grievances should be replicated into my system. It is not necessary, but IRDA went ahead and did this in the interest of the policyholder protection and to have a better sense about the grievance management by the insurers. So for that purpose, it has come out with a system called the Integrated Grievance Management System. RBI has just now started the call center as far as grievances are concerned. In the last annual policy statement, when Prime Minister inaugurated the integrated ombudsman system sometime early this year or late last year. But IRDA has been having a grievance call center since 2000. It's almost 10 years since you have the grievance call center, which is a 12-hour center that is operating for 6 days a week in many languages. So this way, IRDA has gone, made substantial efforts in terms of enabling grievance redressal. Then supervisory aspects are very important because monitoring the implementation of regulation is important, and also monitoring the timelines of resolution of grievances is also important, and to ascertain the quality of disposal is also important. So it's not possible that IRDA will go through all the 2 lakh complaints that are there on the system, but definitely when there is a response or another complaint coming up from a channel like government, from Prime Minister's office, etc., we tend to go into the complaint full particulars and then find out whether the resolution that has been provided and the quality of disposal is appropriate or not. And it is important that IRDA prepares and publishes reports of grievances against insurers, because this can give a sense to the public about the nature of customer service that is provided by the insurer. And it is for this reason only that public disclosures are also mandated relating to grievances. Then the most important function that IRDA is supposed to perform relating to grievances is something called as market conduct, which is a very, very important function, because the level of service and the manner of conduct of business by an insurer or any service provider can be judged by the number of complaints, the quality of complaints, the speed of resolution of these complaints, and the frequency with which similar complaints keep cropping up. So monitoring of the functioning of entities based on complaints is a very important aspect of market conduct study of insurers. Then it doesn't stop with getting to know what are the general nature of complaints that are there or where the company is doing well or doing not well. But it is important to understand what are the system problems which result in these complaints coming up, or these complaints coming up in so much high numbers. So that's the reason why undertaking root cause analysis of the major areas of complaints is very, very important from the insurer's perspective, and if they fail to do that, from the regulator's perspective, so that these loopholes that are there which are resulting in lack of good customer service are addressed. And once they are addressed, you have improvement in the customer service and the general improvement in satisfaction of the customer. So giving directions for improvement is also an important area for market conduct, and more importantly, regulatory action that can take place in terms of giving instructions to all the insurers. That can also happen based on the study of complaints by IRDA. So whenever we see that the total number of spurious call complaints were huge, we felt that we have to incorporate an advertisement in all the commercials which come from insurers saying that IRDA ke naam pe whatever promises are being made. Every insurer should say that IRDA does not offer insurance, and don't be fooled by the calls that are coming up, because ultimately it is the insurer's responsibility that they are operating in a proper manner, and IRDA tries to provide guidelines for this. Like in case of IDB also there was an issue that IRDA was finding that IDV was not being used in the proper manner while settlement of the claim. So IRDA came out and gave guidelines. Similarly, the asking for this report, the other day we were discussing about this, no, saying that I am satisfied with this settlement, they will sign, then take the amount, then they will be dissatisfied with the resolution that has been provided. So those kind of complaints, IRDA has issued instructions to all the insurers saying that you have to improve your systems or you need to comply with these guidelines, instructions, etc. So from that point of view, the most important role insofar as grievances for IRDA is concerned is from the market conduct point of view, not anything. All the other things are secondary. But if IRDA is able to focus on that and bring out improvements in the market conduct, then it would have done its job well. Then the other important aspect, shall I stop for a moment? I'm going on for too long, I suppose. Any views that you have relating to IRDA on this count? How many of you feel that IRDA is doing a good job as far as monitoring the market conduct is concerned? Is IRDA efficient enough in terms of handling the grievances and examining whether these grievances are being addressed systemically, not individually? But individually means I have a problem, my problem will be solved. But when I say systemically, the root cause behind me having a problem and many more people like me having a problem, whether the company is able to redress it, and if it is not able to redress, whether IRDA is able to catch that and whether it is able to deal with it. One thing I can say for sure is ULIP related complaints, there were too many, and the change in ULIP related regulation is attributable solely to IRDA's focus on the grievances that were there in ULIP. Similarly, in case of spurious crawls. But any other views, anybody?
See, at one point or other, all of you, when you'll start working as an arbitrator, you may have to, look at the IRDA's way of functioning, especially related to grievance and all that. So you have to understand, and not just understand, you have to go to the website of IRDA and see how things are actually. Because just now when you started looking at the grievance portal of the insurance company, and you're finding it's not exactly there. So it's a very serious thing. Similarly, IRDA also, I mean, you can definitely visit, because basically it is not just arbitration will simply come like that. Arbitration is at a very later stage. So basically how the whole grievance thing moves at the company level, at IRDA level, I mean, that, the knowledge thing, whatever I have shared with you, whatever Dr. Mallikarjun is trying to share with you, I mean, I'm sure most of you have not exactly worked looking at grievances. But then that is something which you have to understand, because if you don't understand the mechanism, and all these mechanisms, whether at IRDA level or at company level, they are supposed to be done legally actually, because regulations are in place. So if they are not doing it, they can be penalized. And as tomorrow, if you are taking up a case, I mean, not as an arbitrator, just like someone approaches you and like you take up a case, then you got to understand that if this step has not been taken by the insurance company, that means legally they are at fault. And when a laid down rule has been overlooked, then there is always a penalty. So, I mean, that thing you have to understand. So if IRDA has set down rules and regulation, and if IRDA is itself not following it, that also you'll have to see. Although I don't think so, there will be a situation where you have to arbitrate between IRDA and an insurance company, but nevertheless, you should understand IRDA, because IRDA, the way it has evolved in these last 20 years, I mean, IRDA. I used to go when IRDA was just in the ground floor of LIC building in Connaught Place. It was not IRDA. It was IRA actually.
IRA.
Subsequently, they added D, and from that now they have got a big this thing in I mean Cyber City. It is in Cyber City, no, Hyderabad.
Nanakram Guda.
Yeah.
Financial city.
So it has evolved over a period of time. It has evolved. I have not been to IRDA since ages, so I will be lost.
I have not entered IRDA after 31st May 2016.
Yeah. So all of you have to understand that IRDA's role is very crucial when we are dealing with an insurance company, whether as an arbitrator or as a mediator. And for that, you have to, I mean, not just visit IRDA, but you've got to understand, especially in this line, how they deal with a grievance. And if they are not dealing with the grievance properly, that means there is something seriously wrong, actually.
And one more thing, you can feel free to write to IRDA. There's nothing wrong if there is something regulatorily which is stopping. So these kind of correspondences are entertained and acted upon as well. So you find that there is something which is absolutely not appropriate that is happening in an insurer or in the insurance sector in general. If you take it up, definitely it will have it will have a positive effect in terms of helping the customers, etc. So some maybe may say that we have been taking up relating to surveyors, kuch ho nahi raha hai. So I will lose heart about everything relating to IRDA, but that doesn't happen that way, no? So you will have to trust that there are institutions which are there and these institutions are operational, and there will be people who will be diligent enough in terms of ensuring that the work is done. So that's the premise on which you will go. Otherwise, it will be anarchy. When you don't believe in institutions, it's only going to be anarchy.
So there are a lot of good things are happening there, man. There are a lot of good things happening there.
Correct. So do I presume that there is nothing that you would want to add, and do I go ahead? Chalo, I'll go ahead. Sometimes I tend to become, I tend to become very verbose. वो problem है मेरे में. क्या करें? Chalo. So now, what are the channels that are available? You have an integrated grievance call center. So it's a toll-free number that is there. The second channel is to send an email at complaints@irda.gov.in. Then third one is you go to the integrated grievance management system. Then fourth is you have a conventional channel where there is a complaint registration form, where there are all these details that are there. Then the classification of grievances you fill in. Then you give the details of the policy, you give your contact detail, then you indicate what your complaint is. And then you enclose the documents that are there and then send them across to the General Manager, Consumer Affairs Department, Grievance Redressal Cell. And it is not necessary that you do all this, even a simple letter with full particulars and enclosures and some contact to respond back. If these are there, these are all the channels through which you can complain. Let me just talk about the Integrated Grievance Call Center, or the IGCC. This was launched in July 2010. There is a toll-free number. This operates for 12 hours between 8 AM and 8 PM, and it operates for 6 days a week. And there are call center executives who have knowledge and understanding about Hindi, English, Telugu, and major other Indian languages. So people in their own language can express their problem and give their complaint, and these call center executors will type them out on the integrated grievance system platform and then send it across to the concerned insurer for inexpensive, expeditious, and simple resolution of the grievance. So here, through the call, you can have a registration of the complaint. They will inform you the token number of the complaint. Then again, you can call on the system, indicate your token number and get to know the status of the complaint. Then if you are not satisfied with the resolution that is provided based on the information that you get about how the insurer has resolved, you can indicate that you escalate the complaint, in which case it will go to the next level or it can be escalated to IRDA. So this is as far as the grievance call center is concerned. The next thing that you have is something called as the integrated grievance management system, which is the industry-wide database of the entire insurance sector, and it was launched in 2010-11. So it's basically a centralized system, and it provides online access for proposers, policyholders, complainants. It is having access to insurers and intermediaries as well, and it has it is hosted by IRDA, and IRDA also has access to the system. So on a minute by minute basis, we can get to know how many complaints are lodged, how many complaints are getting resolved on a daily basis, etc. So the system has a predefined system of turnaround times, then complaint types and subtypes for better classification and analysis. So if you see the complaint form, you will find what are the items that are there. If you say it is a life, whether it is on the policy, whether it is unit linked. So this way, and then in relation to that, what is your kind of grievance? So about 115 to 120 different kinds of grievances under these subheads are there for life and non-life. And the reason why you have all this is to get a branched out kind of complaints that are there. So the more detailed the complaints could be, the better and more focused will be the emphasis on areas of grievances, so that the system improvements can be brought so as to reduce the number of complaints there. And it's no one's guess that the biggest problem in case of life is unfair business practices, and the biggest problem in case of non-life is your claim settlement. So these are the two major areas of grievances, but within this, what are the other areas, you will be in a position to find out because of the branched nature of the complaint types and subtypes in life as well as non-life. So this is as far as the system is concerned. There is a small demo video of this. Let me see if I can show you this.
Insurance is not bought but sold. If a company has sold you an insurance policy and you have a grievance that is not...
Are you able to see this and hear this?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes,
not
yes, yes.
attended to. What often insurance is not bought but sold. If a company has sold you an insurance policy and you have a grievance that is not attended to, what will you do? Welcome to IGMS, IRDA's integrated grievance management system. Log on to www.igms.irda.gov.in to register your grievance and track its status online. IGMS is a comprehensive solution that provides online access to the policyholder and provides a tool to IRDA to monitor disposal of grievances by insurance companies. IGMS has thus been designed to facilitate quick disposal of your grievances. To register your grievance, you need to log on to www.igms.irda.gov.in. This one-time registration is simple with the use of either your PAN or mobile or landline or voter ID card or passport or ration card number as your user ID and your date of birth as login requisites. You need to key in minimum personal data, such as your name and contact details. After the registration process, you can log in to register your grievance. The system gives the option to choose the type of insurance, like life and non-life, and allows you to choose through various dynamic menus. The interface has been designed to locate the branch of the company where the policy was bought to make things easy for you. After you select the insurer and branch, you need to register your grievance. Immediately after the grievance is raised, the IGMS enables flow of complaints to the respective grievance systems of insurer as well as IRDA repository. The insurer is given a predefined time limit to address your grievance. The robust grievance management system monitors response time and tracks the actual time taken for resolution of complaints. Any update of status by the insurers would automatically be reflected in the IRDA system. The system also has automatic alerts for approaching closing dates. If the grievance is addressed satisfactorily as per the insurance rules, regulations, and policy conditions, the grievance is closed. If you are not happy with the response, then an escalate button appears alongside your grievance. That brings the matter to the attention of IRDA, which facilitates re-examination and disposal by the insurance company. With the launching of IGMS, IRDA offers yet another channel for policyholders to lodge their grievances. It is also a powerful tool for IRDA to oversee disposal of complaints by insurance companies. IRDA has also ensured that the toll-free number 155255 is integrated with the IGMS.
IRDA, आपकी सुरक्षा के लिए.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the mechanism of how IRDA's grievance redressal system operates. So now, going back so the integrated grievance redressal system, as I already indicated, one issue that is not there in IGMS is uploading documents relating to the complaint and uploading the resolution. In fact, insurance ombudsman and the banking ombudsman have these facilities. But you have a mechanism of online registration, then you have an auto acknowledgement mail generated, then complaints of insurer are replicated to the IGMS, then resolution particulars can be filled in online and accessed. Then status of complaint can be ascertained online. Then, as it has been indicated, the complaint can be escalated to IRDA, and when it is escalated, automatically the insurer has a relook at the resolution that they have given. But sometimes it so happens that they will rewrite the same thing. Then resolution can be updated to IRDA, and it facilitates generation of various reports to monitor the grievances and their resolution, timelines, nature and quality of grievance redressal, effectiveness of grievance management, etc. So this way IGMS is a very, very important tool. And what does IRDA do insofar as grievances are concerned? So it gives a unique token number. Then acknowledgement with token number is sent by email to the postal address. Then documents will be forwarded giving reference to the token number to the mail generally. That's a better mechanism for dealing with it because the system does not allow uploading of documents. Then these documents with the complaint number will be examined by the insurer and resolved within 15 days. The resolution should be updated on IGMS and the status can be checked by complainant online or ascertained through the IGCC, and the system gets automatically updated. In case the complaint is not satisfied, he can escalate to IRDA. Insurer has to re-examine. Then how the resolution has been done, whether it has been done in favor of the complainant, partially in favor, or rejected. These updates of resolution have to be provided. And if the resolution is not satisfactory, the complainant has to be advised to approach alternate forum like insurance ombudsman or the appropriate legal authority. Then the complaint is closed and the complainant is advised. And as far as closure is concerned, you have three channels that I have already indicated, where the complainant grievance is resolved, the complainant accepts the resolution of the grievance, or the complainant does not come back. Even 8 weeks after the complaint response has been forwarded to him. But one thing about IRDA is IRDA cannot and does not examine every grievance that is escalated to it, but it only facilitates grievance redressal. So it does not adjudicate upon individual complaints, because if it has to do that, then it has to examine close to about 60,000-70,000 complaints, which it's at least the manpower of IRDA is not capable of handling. In fact, when I initially joined, having joined from the Banking Ombudsman Office, I was very particular that we should be checking all those complaints, and it became such a burden for me that I subsequently realized that maybe we need to pick a sample of complaints and see whether it is being done properly or not, and look at the reports in terms of what are the major areas of grievances. That is, focus more on market conduct based on the complaints rather than on individual retail complaints. So that's the approach that we had taken, which continues to be there even now. Then the IRDA also has a policyholder website, which is called policyholder.gov.in. In that, there is a link which is provided for the grievance redressal policies of all insurers. So this is the site from where you will be in a position to see. Let me see if I can take you through to that site. And you will be in a position to see that some policyholder policies, some grievance redressal policies are very elaborate, while some are very, very cursory. So let me just take you through Aviva Life, if you can go through. You will find that this is a 19-page document that itself will give an indication about how elaborate this grievance redressal policy is. So it talks about management, it talks about consumer education and transparency, it talks about the grievance redressal system, what is the purpose, vision, etc. Then it talks about what are the aspects that they are going to take care of. Then initiatives taken and self-governance standards that have been set by the insurer, that has been given. Then what is the background and what are the key highlights of IGMS are given. Then here they indicated what is the procedure of grievance redressal that is followed in Aviva Life. Then they have specified what are the turnaround times for the processes. Then what are the events where the closure of grievance is done. Then they have talked about what are the elements of effective complaint management, like commitment, fairness, responsiveness, etc. Then they have also indicated what is the framework of the complaint management system. Then this is the process that is there. Then what is the mechanism relation to escalation and notification. Then they have also talked about prevention and continuous improvement. Then they have talked about coordination, and they have also given details about the team which is handling the grievance redressal. So this is, then they have given a pictorial representation of the channels that are there, like your telephone, email, then regular mail and visit to branches, then escalation, insurance ombudsman details, etc. So this way they have a very comprehensive system, and they also have an ISO 901 and 2008 model of ensuring quality of grievance redressal, etc. So this is one good model of grievance redressal policy. Then I will show you another instance where link is also not accessible. So maybe IFCO Tokyo. So there are some things which are very cursory. So people who are interested can have a look at the grievance redressal policies. All these policies are provided for in the website of policyholder IRDA, which is intended for consumer education. Then the mechanism that is followed relating to handling of complaints is pictorially represented here, and this is also from the policyholder website. Someone is talking. So here you can see that the moment there is a complaint, it will be sent to the insurer, and if the insurer does not respond, you can take it up with IRDA. Then if the insurer responds to the complaint and if it is not satisfactory, then you can escalate to IRDA. If the response to the complaint is satisfactory, the matter is closed. If it is not satisfactory in spite of traveling through IRDA, then the recourse is to go to Ombudsman, Consumer Forum or Civil Court. So this is the channel. Sometimes it so happens that after escalation, again you will have a duplicate, triplicate complaint coming in, and these duplicate, triplicate complaints were getting logged and they were adding up to the number of complaints of the insurer. But now I think statistically at least they have eliminated the duplicate complaints so that you have a reasonably accurate figure of number of complaints that are coming across. But this system also still needs to be improved. Then what are the supervisory tools used by IRDA? Basically, an on-site inspection is conducted, though there is no strict periodicity of inspection. Then complaints also could trigger inspection in case of intermediaries, because these complaints will be taken care of while renewal of the license of the intermediaries. So whenever someone goes for an inspection or there is a renewal due for an intermediary, they will come to the Consumer Affairs Department of the IRDA and ask the number of complaints that are there and the nature of complaints. So we used to furnish the details to them, which they will try to see while they are going for the inspection of the intermediaries, or factor them or call for responses whenever they are doing the renewal. So that was the time when generally the intermediaries also will have a look at IGMS and try to resolve their grievances. Then regulatory and supervisory returns. Returns are to be submitted to IRDA as per the regulations. Then public disclosures have to be made, and wherever there are other documents that are required, they have to be submitted at the time of renewal of license. Then market intelligence and market conduct, press reports and complaints from various sources, and an analysis of the complaints is something which is a very important tool that is used by IRDA for supervision. Then the next part is action taken by IRDA in some cases. So here I am only referring to some cases. We will pick up a sample of cases, see whether that has been acknowledged, then call for a report from the entity. Then we will examine the submissions and see the periodicity of resolution. And in case there is any violation that is noticed, then we will initiate regulatory action, adjudication by adjudicating officer wherever it is required. Then the company will be directed to resolve the grievance in favor of the customer. Then there are instances where we have indicated that you use the similar approach for dealing with similar complaints, either to the company or to the group of companies through the issue of circulars or directions. Then sometimes the scrutiny of complaints and the number have resulted in IRDA coming out with an elaborate publicity mechanism by giving caution, etc., especially as in the case of spurious calls complaints. Then bringing in regulatory changes based on the regulatory gaps identified is one of the most important area where complaints can be used. So what are the regulatory actions that IRDA takes? First, most common is issuing a caution or a warning, then giving a direction to put in place systems to enable timely disposal, then advisory to ensure that you comply with the regulations that are there. And in case there is a serious and continuing lapse, then penalty will be imposed, depending upon the seriousness of the offence, repetitive nature of the offence, and the number of instances of offence or delay that has been noticed. Then in worst cases, it could even lead to suspension or cancellation of license or registration in case of intermediaries. But it has not happened so far, except in case of intermediaries. In case of insurers, it doesn't happen generally. Then one of the examples is in case of a surveyor and loss assessor. In Kerala floods 2018, a letter from Universal Sompo General Insurance and newspaper reports were seen where unlawful monetary favors from insured by surveyor was taken, and this surveyor was arrested by police. So there was a violation of Code of Conduct of Surveyors regulations. Then after giving an opportunity of being heard and calling for a video recording and sting that was conducted, getting that sting forensically examined. Using all this evidence, IRDA cancelled the license of a surveyor. So this is one of those examples where serious regulatory action in terms of putting someone out of business was taken. The other case, sample cases are taken for compliance with regulation, and charges framed on based on the violations. It was observed that the surveyors were performing survey in areas where they don't hold the license. And in certain cases, it was also found that there was delay in submission of survey reports beyond 30 days. And they were not informing about the opening of branches, etc. So in this case, a decision was taken that you stop such practice, and they imposed a penalty of 8 lakhs for the 8 days of the person signing the reports who didn't have the authority to sign those kind of reports. Then the company was also advised, the surveyor was also advised to put in place a robust mechanism to prevent delay. Then he was also advised to comply with the regulation. This was in case of a corporate surveyor. So these are some of the instances of regulatory action. Then apart from that, the most important document that IRDA brings out is there is an elaborate coverage about grievances in the annual report. One about from the IGMS and second about the Insurance Ombudsman grievances also. IRDA brings out a separate booklet called the Consumer Affairs booklet, where the grievance related information and special information about important areas of grievances are brought out. Then there is a handbook of Indian insurance where statistical aspects, including grievance related aspects, are brought out. Then IRDA periodically organizes meetings with grievance redressal officers and ombudsman. And let me tell you that I got to know about Mr. Wahab only through one such meeting that we had in NIA Pune. Then in addition to it, individual grievance redressal officers also, there is a periodic interaction that IRDA has with the key management personnel, and in that key management personnel, the chief grievance redressal officer is also called to discuss the consumer protection measures that are being taken and the grievance redressal machinery that is there in the company. Then policyholder protection and consumer education measures that they are taking out, that is also discussed periodically. So this is as far as the developmental aspect or the interaction with the grievance officers, which is done by IRDA, is concerned. Then this is the document that I was talking about, which is the Consumer Affairs booklet. So you have a booklet where the status of grievances, life and general are indicated. Then you have detailed classification of grievances, summary of complaints, disposal and resolution of life and non-life is there. So by looking at this report, you will get to know what is the disposal rate. You will get to know what are the important areas of complaint. So here you find that policy servicing now happens to be the highest in 2019-20, followed by unfair business practices. Then survival claims constitute 17% of the complaints. So then what are the individual types of complaints that are there? What are the channels through which complaints have been received? Then who is the number 1 to number 5 in terms of the number of complaints that have been received? And what is it, the proportion of complaints in relation to policies sold? So all these particulars are there. Then individual complaints details, like what is the ground on which maximum number of complaints are there? If you see here, you will find that complaint raised with insurer but not addressed. So that constitutes 13% of the total complaints. And unfair business practices, that is malpractices at the time of sale, they constitute 10.5%. So now when you have this kind of detailed information that is there, the next step that the insurer and IRDA is supposed to take is how to deal with these problems. Now you have identified the problem, so go behind what causes these problems, then redress these problems, then the entire level of grievances will come down and the level of customer service will go up. So this is the utility of having this kind of data, and all this data is coming out of the integrated grievance management system. Then this is as far as the non-life or the general insurance is concerned. And as I told you, 65% of the complaints are relating to claims and 15% are relating to policy. And you find that health related complaints now happen to be the highest because all the top five companies are health companies only. Then insurer not disposed of the claim constitutes 31% of the total complaints. Then the other important grievance is that the insurer failed to clarify the queries raised by the insurer. So these are then difference between loss assessed and the amount settled by the insurer. So this constitutes, there are 3,121 complaints like this in 2019-20, and all these 3,121 complaints are eligible for being arbitrated upon. So the next also, insurer reduced the quantum of claim for reasons not indicated in the policy. So a total of 5,600 complaints which are there in the system have not been are available for arbitration, but probably not taken up for arbitration. So this is a very important area, and this indicates the amount of opportunity that is there in this mechanism of redressal of grievances. So this, I just brought these basically to show the kind of detailing of complaints that you can have. So maybe we could write to IRDA saying that in these, let us find out how many of these cases we have arbitrations. And it's also important that we find out that in the grievance redressal, we also incorporate a component saying that what are the number of arbitrations that have been done by the insurer. So that can also be an important area that we could capture in this grievances. So this is something about the data that is there. Then two specific areas we have impressed upon as important topics that need to be always covered in the consumer affairs booklet, where we are taking inputs from the insurer also. So one is in relation to claim handling by insurance companies. What is the root cause for claim settlement related complaints? What are the initiatives that have been taken by insurers for expeditious settlement? Then we also give a gist about the regulatory provisions, and then what is the number of complaints, what is the action that has been taken on intermediaries, etc. So that similarly, in case of mis-selling and spurious calls in the life insurance sector, what are the initiatives that have been taken? What are the actions that have been taken against the intermediaries for spurious calls, for mis-selling? And what is the resolution that has been taken in respect to those complaints? So this detailed information relating to the grievances is something which we started sometime in 2013-14 and which has now become a regular feature of the consumer affairs booklet. And one, unfortunately, while the individual insurer wise this list was prepared and it was a part of the system for close to 3 to 4 years, for the past 1 or 2 years they have discontinued this individual insurer sheets for reasons best known to IRDA. So this is as far as the grievance redressal and the role of IRDA in relation to grievance redressal, and through that policyholder protection and consumer protection. So this is it's elaborate, but I thought these are the elements that you need to know, because you need to know what the regulator does. So the general thing that we say is वो कुछ नहीं करेगा, but वो बहुत कुछ कर रहा है और बहुत कुछ कर सकता है और भी कर सकता है. So that's the reason why I thought I would bring the whole picture so that you get an idea about what IRDA can do, has to do, and would do. Okay. Any questions?